Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of the Endless Celts Podcast. It's a good Monday. Always as after Derby days, I'll just welcome along everyone in the comments. Alistair Jack, Brian Conway, Paul McFarlane, P. McLaughlin. I always want to call him Phil, but I don't know why. I haven't got a clue who the guy is, but I just feel like Phil McLaughlin's got a good drink yet. But come to yourself in for the first time. Do you have a nice weekend? I mean, we'll take Sunday out, but what about Saturday? Did you have a good Saturday? Obviously, Sunday was a good day.
I mean, end of transfer deadline on Friday is a bit doom and gloom. Then there's a game yesterday. It's a bit fucking drab. A fair one. It's pretty fucking shit over it. That's fucking superb, mate. It was great getting a couple of signings through the door on Friday evening. Obviously, nothing surprising for anybody who was keeping track last week. But to see the names get finalised and have Saturday to build up for yesterday's event, which obviously we're naturally going to talk about. It was a good weekend. Kind of positivity was just growing and growing all weekend, and I think we all know without, we're not hiding anything, guys. We won 3-0 yesterday. It was a good fucking result.
I'll just come to yourself, Jed. Were you getting the last thing sorted for your holiday and that? You were just telling us there you're away tomorrow. Lucky man.
Yeah, I've had quite a busy weekend, to be honest. My mate's 60th birthday party Saturday night. At the game yesterday, my wee grandson was taken to the hospital on Saturday, but he's fine. So I was all over the place.
Managed
to get a couple of pints after the game yesterday as well. So yeah, and I was, as you know, I was screaming out to be on tonight because I won't be available for the next few weeks. But I don't know what we're going to talk about, guys. I'm
sure we'll figure something. And just to give everybody a clue what we might be talking about tonight, here's a wee video that Willie's put together. He must have been rough today. I mean, he wasn't the worst guy at his bar yesterday, but he'd had a few drinks. But here's his wee video he's put together for us again. That's just a wee highlight, really, we're kind of got to talk about. And I just started this comment. Cheers very much, Paul. Thanks. I mean, saying nice stuff about you too, but clearly I'm just
no. He's not saying anything nice about me. It's all Jed here. I mean, I'm
true, but at least he's acknowledged you. But
I think it's a nice thing. I think it's just a nice thing.
At least he's acknowledged you. But nah, Paul's a good guy. He's always there and he's always here and stuff. So I know it's just a wee joke for the guy, but I'll just kind of come to yourself, Anthony. Just I sort of summarise the game up without going into too much detail. Also, we'll kind of discuss the goals and players and things like that. But just a sort of overall summary of the game for your point of view, anyway.
minus the first 11 minutes and 17 seconds, perhaps. That was an absolute sensational performance, I think. And I'm even just saying 11 minutes just for the joys of the disallowed goal, just trying to wind them up. It was a fantastic game of football. We all know me on here beating the stick all summer about transfers, getting new bodies in, needing more quality. And if we play like that against teams in the Champions League, like we did in the first half yesterday, we'll blow most teams away. It was an absolute sensational performance. Guys like Nicholas Kuhn and Paulo Bernardo were sensational. The two of them, it was almost like they're coming of a game. That was them kind of becoming men yesterday. And the rest of the game, the rest of the performance from every single player, from Casper to Scales to Kyogo and Maeda and everyone in between, it was just an absolute fantastic performance, Franny. Absolutely superb.
It was a kind of disagree with much of that, and I'll just kind of come to yourself, Jed. Obviously, you'd have been at the game and stuff, so I don't know what it was like being there. It must have been nice.
Oh, it was. The only thing that I wasn't happy about, I predicted 4-0, you know, but let's be honest, we were all cut our hand off to get the 3-0 victory. Just echo everything that Anthony said. Yeah, I just thought we totally dominated the game. And then when you have their manager coming out with some of the statements he was saying afterwards, was to me, it's actually worrying. He believes that, and he's getting found out. He's getting found out big time. But and I did put in the chat the other night as well, guys, that even though I was one of the ones that was moaning we needed new signings in, I did say none of them would start on Saturday. I don't think the guys deserve to be dropped. To get, you know, especially Taylor and Johnson. I've been raving about Johnson all season, and he just moved up another level again yesterday. Everyone in Bernardo is just that's why I wanted to sign him, because I knew there's a player in there, and he grabbed it. He totally grabbed that game yesterday. He was, I mean, in my opinion, he was man of the match. I know at the stadium went to Callum McGregor, but for me, I thought Bernardo was man of the match.
No, I kind of disagree. Me and Willie both said the same at his house, Jed, that it was I think I said he was man of the match until he got 10 off, and I think simply that was the only reason he never got it, is because he got 10 off, and I think he was pretty much ran his on the ground, and we will come on to Bernardo later on. But Anthony, I'll just kind of come to yourself, just kind of talk about the starting lineup and stuff. Obviously, I'm with Jed, as much as we obviously brought the guys in, and yeah, they brought them in late. I don't think, for me, Engels was the only one that's up for debate, and I'm simply saying that based off him costing £11 million. That's the only argument I could put forward for him starting. Whatever you think we all think of Scales and Taylor, whatever. I just think defensively you don't change in these games that late on. You try and get guys embedded in, and I think that's a fair argument for the midfield as well. It's probably why one of the reasons maybe Engels never actually started. But coming to it, were you expecting anything different for that starting lineup? Because obviously take injuries out it.
Not massively. Quickly try and run through, was it 6 or 7 signings we made throughout the summer? So Casper, obviously, you expect him to come in. Bernardo, I think, was it?
2 keepers.
I think it's about 7, 8.
I think it's 7. Casper, you obviously, naturally, he's going to be there. I think it was far too early to think of the Spanish boy. Him going left back. I mean, Taylor's, we all know we wanted improvement there, but Taylor's been solid enough that you wouldn't expect, as you said, defensively to change that up. Same with Trusty. Scales has earned the right to start this game. We all know we can do better than Scales, and that's not a slight on him. He was absolutely fantastic, but he deserves the credit for starting that game, and he played absolutely fantastic. Bernardo was the one that was, for me, okay, he was the new signing, but obviously on the back of last season. If Matt O'Reilly was here, Bernardo wouldn't have started, but he's not here, so that's where the question mark came around. And a little bit of me thought that actually Luke McCowan might have started that game instead of Bernardo yesterday. Purely because, and I see where you're going with the Engels thing, but purely because he's up and running in this league. He knows what the dynamics of this, not this game per se, obviously he knows the dynamics of, to a degree like we do as fans, but he knows how to play against Rangers at times. He knows what he's doing in this league and this kind of tempo and stuff. So I thought McCowan might have been the one that may have came in for Bernardo, but obviously not. The front three obviously picks itself. We Dyson on the left, Coombs having a fantastic season, and Kyogo doesn't have a shoulder injury. Apparently, he's absolutely fine. So just to be who he is.
And I'll carry come to yourself, because obviously you put in the group chat about the starting lineup, and I don't think Manea's disagreed with you. I think the only position I thought maybe would have been up for debate was maybe out in the right, providing everybody was fit. Obviously, we were a wee bit unsure. Maybe Kyogo, we haven't been on the bench the previous week because of due to injury, and also I think the night before I thought maybe there was a wee chance James Forrest could have started. It would have been his 500th game. Obviously came off the bench and got that. But Celtic actually tweeted out a picture of James Forrest, so a wee bit of maybe thinking he might have got a start. Did anybody surprise you, or would you? I think that was the team that started was the team you picked in the group chat anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. Listen, if Forrest hadn't been picked, I wouldn't have been angry about it, because you know what he can do. But Kuhn, in my opinion, I thought that's probably Kuhn's best performance in a Celtic jersey. He absolutely terrorised the left-hand side of Rangers' defence. He was brilliant. Absolutely, just willing to run. He was taking players out of position as well. Just brilliant, fantastic. And we are now seeing what Rodgers why he wanted him. Says, look, he's had injuries when he came in, and we're starting to really feel it now. We always joke about Tavernier having nightmares with Maeda. That left back of Rangers will not want to see him again. He absolutely tore him a new one. So he did.
I think I totally agree with that. I think he's shown, obviously, none of his McGinty, including myself, wrote him off last season. I don't know if you were one of the ones that didn't write him off either.
Didn't he write?
It's surprising. Like, what I would say about Kuhn is he played like Ross Disney write guys off that soon, and that's how bad he was playing. Ross had written him off after a couple of games. But I'll write off players. I'll write off a lot more players, and the good thing is if they're proving me wrong, it's all the benefit for Celtic at the end of the day. So long may that continue with Kuhn. It just shows that obviously he was carrying that injury. I totally agree with you, Jed, with Tavernier. Like, he does look now like a player that dreads this fixture now, especially at Parkhead. It just looks like he dreads it. Absolutely dreads it.
Franny, there was 1 minute. It was just before half time, because I sit in the traditional Celtic end, and Tavernier lost the ball up at our box. He almost got a shot away, and he hardly even got up to chase back to get back in his position. He doesn't want to be there. He is absolutely destroyed, and there is no fight left in him anymore. And by the way, I hope he's still playing when we play them the next time. But
no.
I really noticed that yesterday. And before the game as well, the boy for Aberdeen, Barn was going to be doing this, Barn was going to be doing that. All he done was watch players running away from him all game. So I think he's going to get the realisation why people are saying he should have been called up for the Scotland squad. He's not good enough to be in the Scotland squad. They need to. Rangers fans need to realise where they are. And I sent you guys the day. I don't know if Manny's watched it.
I did watch that back, aye.
And I tell you, hats off to the three guys. I thought they spoke the truth. You know, they were very truthful in their assessment of the game, and you know, they realised they're knackered. They're absolutely knackered. So I know we all slagged them in that, but I thought these three guys spoke very well. about their team and the way where it was going.
I think it's realisation setting in a bit for the majority of them, and that you touched on earlier, Jed, about Clement. He's no being able to talk himself out it anymore. Some of them are even no buying his crap anymore, and
Well, Franny,
just calling it.
I went to the pub last night and speaking to a Rangers guy. I didn't even know he was in the pub. And I says, pal, you want to get more worried? Well, how do you mean? I says, well, we've actually made a profit. We've spent less than what we brought in. We've not even touched our cash in reserve yet. If we want to go, the board wants to do it, we could leave yous standing. But that's for another conversation. But that's where we are as a club.
Where we are right now, Totally, and it's a good. The mood is good now, like you said, Jed. The transfers, what we think about the timing of them, it wasn't great, but I feel that's for a different day. That argument, the days, I think it's just to enjoy what was yesterday, Anthony, and we'll kind of just get on to the first goal. Well, the sort of the start of the game. Obviously, Celtic we've been known for quick starts this season, but it was Rangers that got off to a surprisingly quick start. They pinned us back a wee bit, and I don't know, maybe subconsciously, maybe it was deliberate that Celtic maybe sat off them a wee bit and just thought, right, we'll need to ride this storm out a wee bit. Rangers also had two great chances. They would have been offside, but at the time they were tight enough calls that the linesman never put his flag up and caused the both. Well, Kasper Schmeichel saved the one for Dessers and we turned up at the header wide. They never had to go to VAR, so they go down as official chances because the linesman never flagged at the time. But then obviously everybody's been saying it, and it's so blatant that the Kyogo goal. I mean, we can talk about that. Do we think it was offside or not? But I just think the whole mentality of the Rangers team changed when that goal went in. I know obviously it then got chopped off, but I think they shot it because it was like 4 passes and we had scored, and like we just played through their press, and I think they went on the pace up front, and obviously then you get the Maeda goal where it's a nice wee triangle between Bernardo, Alistair Johnson and Kuhn. It looks simple movement at the end of the day, but Rangers just get a wee bit bamboozled by Anthony, and it's a good pass by Bernardo into Alistair Johnson, but it bursts a gut, and there's a lot of determination to get there. Pulls back a nice cross, and there's Maeda just needs to hit the target. It's one of the ones hit the target, and it's in. But what was how did you see the sort of first 20 minutes up until the goal?
I think you've touched on it quite well. I'll try and delve into it a wee bit deeper in my fumbling ways. When you see the first goal go in, the wrongfully disallowed goal, I mean, quickly just to labour on that point of how bad that was, there's an image kicking about from Sky who show you the freeze frame with the lines, and see if you actually look at the cut of the grass, you can tell he's minus on the side. I mean, you can already tell that they're taking it from Kuhn's shoulder.
Is it elbow or shoulder or something?
Barn or somebody else's shoulder, but they're taking it from out on the outside of it, and they're taking it from the inside of the Rangers players, but they're using the arm. If you look where the feet are about 2 yards. He's 2 yards on with his feet, and you can't be offside with your arm because you can't score with your arm. So it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, it wasn't offside. They've done that twice to us now in the league, and they've got away with it once in the league as well, using the arms or not using the arms as such. But even that goal that was disallowed, it's a little pressing triangles, even defensively. It was Bernardo that presses to get the ball. I think it's AJ then passes it into a triangle into McGregor, who then releases Kuhn, who does not look like the fastest guy going, but somehow gets up and down that line, something rotten, to then obviously make the pass into Kyogo. And it's not the exact same, but it's similar when you see that triangle further up the field for Maeda's goal as well. But see that first one, that Kyogo goal, I think that's when they realise that first 10-minute spell wasn't them dominating us. That was us just finding our feet. That was just us easing into the game. I like it when we come out, the trap's flying. I like it when we get a really nice early goal. But we don't need to do that because we had so much confidence and belief, and we know that they weren't going to trouble us, that we allowed ourselves to build up the pressing and the passing, and as in that first goal that was disallowed, and then you see it happen from the Maeda goal, and you see it happen throughout the first half and second half as well. It's all about those little triangles, those pressing moments, getting the ball back. Yeah, I'm just saying what I said earlier on, almost funny. It's just just to see it at times. Yeah, I can't sing the praises of Kuhn and Bernardo any more than what I'm probably trying to do. I think both of them were absolutely fantastic. We joked earlier on there, Franny, that I wrote Kuhn off straight away. Even before he touched down in Glasgow, I'd written him off. I jumped straight onto the line that Rodgers had said all January about only bringing in quality to improve the team, going for Europe and all that kind of stuff. And straight off the bat, I said Kuhn's not that quality. He's absolutely not the quality that we needed. I still reckon we could. This is going to sound really fucking bad. I still reckon we could do better. If we really wanted to bring in the true quality that we felt we needed and deserved in January, we would have brought in somebody of a Jota level. But we brought in Kuhn, and we all didn't see it at first. We found out, obviously, his injuries and all the rest of his weight issues and stuff last season. But he started this season absolutely fine, and he's absolutely proven me wrong. He's turning into a quality little player that I'm excited for the season ahead. And seriously, I can't sing the guy's praises. He was absolutely one of the best players yesterday. He's been one of the best players all season so far in the early start of it, but he's absolutely fucking fantastic yesterday, along with Bernardo.
I know. No, it wasn't. The two of them obviously linked up, Jed, for that first goal when we were talking about how Tavernier must be dreads this fixture and stuff. And I think it's 16, 17 minutes in. Obviously, Johnston cuts that ball back, and there's Maeda and Tavernier doing his best Barisic impression, but just sleeping at the back post. And Maeda just nicks in and scores a great goal. And just really, I wouldn't say settle the nerves, but it was more, you've seen the two early Rangers chances. Yes, they would have inevitably been called offside, but if one of them go in, you just don't know how they react to it. Our goal that was chopped off, we reacted perfectly. It just gave us confidence, or certainly got us further up the park, and like I say, Rangers just went right into their shell, and I think we capitalised on it massively.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Anthony, could you write off any of the new signings we brought in last week? That could maybe help them get better as well.
that Ingles looks absolutely pish.
But what I did, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I was surprised the way Rangers started. I didn't expect that. And I was thinking, oh, shit, what's going to happen here? One of the guys, Paul, that sits next to me, he says, this is brilliant. What do you mean? He went, they ain't going to last this. As soon as we cut them open, and he was bang on. Says, they're pushing, we're going to cut them open, and that'll be it. And that's exactly what happened. It was just, how quick did we get that ball up when Hatate passed to McGregor and then the pass through? We absolutely ripped him to bits. And yeah, it's weird. People are saying it's onside. It's offside. I thought it was onside. It's like when Anthony said, if you look at the grass, the cuts of the lines in the grass, never mind the lines from Sky or whatever like that, anything like that. I just thought it was a goal. And then, but we kept at it. We just kept going at them, and it paid off again. And you could see their heads were down. And listen, see in the first half, we could have had 4. I mean, look at the chance that Tati had.
Oh,
look at the chance Bernardo had as well.
That's right. Aye.
So there's 2. The goal wasn't chopped off. There's 3. And then the 2 goals. 5 goals we could have been up. I know it's all ifs and buts and everything like that. But it was just, and somebody was, I don't know if it has, what's the Rangers keeper again, Butland, as he came out and said, this is just getting a joke now, getting beat off him. I don't know if that's true. Somebody said that.
I don't know. I've not seen it myself, Jed, but I hope it's true.
Buy that for me, but
I hope it's true.
Yeah, listen, it was brilliant, and you could see look where we played against Chelsea in the pre-season. We were doing no passing, cutting through them, and it's paid off the pre-season because he wanted to go back. You know, he wanted to go. He's got his players in now, and he wants this system. Guys, if you look at, he improved O'Reilly, and I think as well he's realised Taylor, he's not an out left back. You know, he can be used to be overlapping and things like that. So he's worked with him in that, and you can see I've seen a big improvement in Johnson. Johnson's setting up the park more, as it proved with the first goal.
No, totally. So I think he needs to get his numbers up with assists and stuff, because he does get himself in good positions, Jed.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of come back to you on the second goal, because I think another player that's looks like he might be going up a level, even though it was only his first goal yesterday, was Kyogo. And I actually think I seen a stat earlier that's 8 and 15 against him, and I don't think he scored in his first 4 or 5.
8 and 10.
8 and 10. Well, I was going to say I don't think he's actually scored in his first. Yeah. He scored in his first 4 or 5 games against them, and it just seems like he's good for a goal in this fixture. And I think the difference in mentality was shown between the two teams in that goal. Obviously, Rangers tried to break away, and Greg Taylor, he makes a bit of a gamble, but he sees that opportunity. He could nick that ball and get us up the park again, get us on the attack. And his part, I mean, I'm not saying I'm one of Greg Taylor's biggest fans, but I've been always consistent and said I think he's an absolute great passer of the ball. And Kyogo, I think, has been dropping deeper a lot this season. I don't know if that's obviously by instruction for Rodgers, and he just, his pace and movement, it's brilliant, but he just picks that ball up, Jed. And Butland's position is not great, but equally he's maybe just been caught off guard with his nicking the ball back. But all the things that Kyogo could have done in that position, I'm not saying I didn't expect them not to score, but I just did not expect them to shoot that early and essentially pass it in. It was not rattled in, just placed in. Brilliant.
But Franny, you know where I sit, and we got a perfect angle for that.
You'd have seen that all the way.
We knew it was in. We knew the keeper wasn't getting to it. He, like you say, he placed it. He just placed it in. It was a fantastic goal. But the thing is, as well, with Kyogo going back more, he's creating space for other people, because defenders are thinking, oh, do I follow him? Where do I go? They don't know that. And then the people coming down the blind side as well. I just thought it was fantastic. And look at the second half, what Kyogo done. He chased back 60 yards.
At one point,
to help win.
When we're up to nothing, nothing in that.
It was outstanding. And he totally deserved the goal. And again, he could easily have got a second goal in the second half when he lobbed the keeper. You know, he broke away. Look, the guy, obviously, some players play better against certain teams, and I think Kyogo, it's Rangers. He just seems to flourish. So he does.
No, I agree, and I'll come to yourself, Anthony. Like our man McLaughlin here said, ever since that 2-2 game, it feels like maybe in Kyogo, he feels like he belongs in this fixture. And as Jed said, you are judged on these games at the time, especially as a striker at Celtic or Rangers. You're judged on this fixture. Adam Ida's played maybe 3 or 4 of them. Got 2 goals. And Kyogo, as we stated, he's got 8 goals, I think, in 15 games against them, which is an absolute fantastic record. And I think there's some mad stat as well. Not after, it was before yesterday's goal, but it scored at both ends at Celtic Park, both ends at Ibrox, and both ends at Hampden against them, which is just a mad stat. And just talk us through you with that goal, and just Kyogo in this fixture. He relishes it seems.
I would love to know who figured that stat out, by the way, that he scored at each end of all because I'm a geek and I'm sad as fuck when it comes to that kind of thing, but I couldn't even started to thought to look into that kind of stuff.
The League Cup final, obviously the 2-2 goal he scored with Giacomakis, that's up at the old traditional Celtic end. He's won against where there's no fans as well, where O'Reilly heads it. That's at the other end. He's 2 in the cup final. One was either half, and then he's obviously scored a couple. He has scored at either half it. I think it was a 3-1 game where Jota scored as well.
Yeah,
that was when he'd done it.
He scored 2 goals in that goal.
And Jota scored the one where it was just like back past. So I think that was a game he managed to complete sort of at that start.
The stat I came up with the day regarding Kyogo was nothing to do with Rangers, unfortunately. But it was to try and compare him to Larsson, because in my personal opinion, he is the best striker we've had since Larsson. The way he moves, his mobility, how he's got the eye for goal, the technique that he's got for taking a shot. He's very deft with his touch at times. I honestly think I'm not saying he's on a par with Larsson, not saying that.
No.
But I think there's some similarities to how he plays a little bit. And I think he's one of the most naturally gifted centre-forward strikers that we've had since Larsson. I think he's the best since. I think Edward and Bailey were absolutely fantastic players. I know, taken back in a heartbeat, absolutely taken back in a heartbeat. But I think Kyogo, he's different from the pair of them. He's not as strong as the pair of them, but I think he's a much better centre forward for us, and I think he plays better for us in this team. But the stat that I came up with the day from, it's not like I came up with, I just worked it out a wee bit, and other people probably done likewise anyway, so it's not like I'm a magician here. But he's 1.8 goals for every game, sort of thing. He's 73 goals in 156 appearances or something like that.
Even his goal scoring is ridiculous.
And he's a goal, I think he's a goal every 122 minutes. And the comparable stat to Larsson in that regards is that Larsson was a goal every 113 minutes. So he's only 9 minutes worse off than Larsson. How that compares to Edward and Dembele and others, I have no idea.
Plus, you've got longevity that kind of could skew that a wee bit anyway with Edward
exactly.
and Dembele.
He's been here 3 years. This is his 4th season. Larsson was here for 7. Obviously, he didn't play for 8 months in one of the years. There's all things that will skew that around. And I don't think Kyogo is ever going to be in a nomination for a Ballon d'Or or in the running for the Golden Boot like Larsson was numerous times for that Ballon d'Or. I think he had 2 nominations. Didn't get any votes, mind you, but he still had nominations. He's a fantastic player. I actually listened to his little clip. I think I put it in the chat earlier. Didn't hear it yesterday, but I've never heard him speak before. I just find it absolutely hilarious to listen so many times today. Just his little thing when the guy's asking what he thought when he saw the goalkeeper left so much space. He's like, I didn't think about the goalkeeper. I shoot. So I shoot. Yeah, go.
Greg Taylor's reaction is brilliant too.
Yeah. And it's something I actually picked up on Alistair Johnson watching the replay back for the Maeda goal. These are players that, and this is a quality that these players have, they don't need to look. Alistair Johnson's ball in for Maeda he didn't look. He was obviously got right to the byline. It's the last second hit the ball. He's fallen as he hits it, but he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly where he's putting that ball.
He doesn't
need to look. He just knows where he's putting it, and he knows that somebody's going to be there. If it wasn't Kyogo who just misses out on it, it's Maeda falling through, doing that thing that we love to see when Andrew was here, and you could see in flashes last season, but we're definitely seeing more of it now, where if the attack's all coming down the right, everybody from Maeda and Kyogo and the midfield pull in. They shift in that little bit, they pull in, and they all become dangerous because they're all anticipating that cutback. They're all anticipating the kind of the ball falling to them or pinging back somewhere. And it's just brilliant. See, as Kyogo doesn't even look at the goalkeeper, he just sees the space. I'm shooting, I'm going for it. Alistair Johnson don't need to look up. I know somebody's going to be exactly where I'm going to put this ball, which is at the penalty spot. Well, there it is. Bernardo, same. Matt O'Reilly was a genius at it. He never needed to look anywhere. He just knew what he was doing. And it looks like Bernardo's just is taking over that mantle as well. But that's the quality you need at a team like Celtic, and hopefully it's not a one-off game. Then we kind of go hiding and get arses handed to us in the Champions League. Hopefully we keep building on this and this confidence and momentum, because if these players understand each other that well, that they don't even need to look up, they just are that technically good and just well understanding of each other, then we're going to do some major damage at times. And thankfully, I know we're not want to touch on too much, but thankfully that Champions League, not group, but the fixtures that we've got does look favourable. That against some of those teams, we should be able to play like we did yesterday, and actually get some good results out of it.
No, totally. Before we kind of continue, Brown Warriors are asking, I don't know if you've got a lawyer present you want to answer this, Anthony, but he's asking what you've done with Ryan Winmate's body. To say, up to you how you want to address that, if you want to stay quiet until you've got your lawyer there or whatever.
I ken who you're talking about, but I'll be honest, I've not watched him enough to know how similar I am in my talking. I'm just disappointed I'm not moaning about something.
But then, as I say, we'll go into the second half, Jed, and I think this is maybe where Rodgers, to an extent, differs for Postecoglou, where Postecoglou maybe would have just came out second half, and that could have been 4-5-6, nothing, or even like 7-3, just because he would have just kept on going, which we all loved, and it's not having a go at Postecoglou. We all loved that type of football, how it was just 100 mile an hour essentially, whereas I think Rodgers, it's more about it's still having a go, but making sure of the 3 points and containing the game. That's the word I was looking for, and it felt a wee bit like playing within themselves. Certainly, that's how I looked at the second half, where it was just get ourselves through. Bernardo was still obviously harrying. And then you touched on Kyogo earlier there about running 60 yards. Maeda never necessarily ran as far, but it was Maeda that won the ball back on the right-hand side. Now he's playing as a left winger, and he wins it on the right-hand side and just passes it to McGregor in the 70-odd minutes. So even then, 2-0 up, cruising, and you've got Maeda still putting that workload in. And then obviously McGregor, who's had a great start to the season, is almost having his own sort of a goal of the season tournament. But you must have had a good view of that goal as well down at your end, Jed.
Yeah, I mean, I was still moaning about because I thought it was a penalty a minute before then. Not even the handball. It was Ingles.
I never actually shows you a replay in Sky.
No, that Ingles got taken out. The boy took him right out. So I was saying the ball, when the ball got out to play, they'll look at it. But when McGregor got the ball, and I thought he just seemed to get that wee half a yard on his left foot, and bang. And it's when you see it it takes some turn, and it's, I watched the replay on the big screen at the stadium, and it was just fantastic. What a goal it was. He deserved. I mean, that's three great goals he's already scored this season in 4 games.
I know.
This retiring from international football is suiting him.
No, it hasn't happened.
He's not played the game yet.
Yeah,
I know. It hasn't happened.
He's not missed the game yet.
Yeah. Aye. But I hope Steve Clark wasn't at that game yesterday either, because at the 2 other games he's been at, he scored it and played really good. But what did you think about it for goal? For me, it just topped off a perfect performance. It was a fight. Like, every goal was brilliant in its own right, and it was only fitting that the captain sort of puts icing on the cake, if you like.
It's that thing that, as I said earlier, and Jed touched it as well there. You go back to the Ange days, and that 100 miles an hour, as you say, that never give up attitude, where we're fighting to the last minute to try and score another goal, even though we're 2, 3, 4, 5-0 up, we're still looking to score more. It felt like that again, through winning the ball back in such a position where it bounces forward to McGregor. I think it's a quick 1-2 between them as well. And McGregor just drives forward into that little bit of extra space, and he knows what he's doing all day long. But what was that, 10, 12 minutes to go? We're coasting at that point. And you want the third goal, you want the fourth, you want all the goals you can get, but there's arguably in the past, especially under a Rodgers team, his first stint, there's arguably times where you think we didn't need to be that gung-ho about it. 2-0 up, not that long to go. But it's that now attitude seems to be drilled back into them. The players know what they're doing, where those triangles can build up. People are pressing in the right places. They're working together for each other. The ball's falling. We're getting all the good 50-50s and all that kind of mark. It's just a good attitude to see. And again, as you said, that's what 3 scored in 4 games. Long may that continue, because I think it was his Notts County game. He got 12 goals or something in that half season at Notts County. Mm-hmm. And he did start quite well at Celtic, but he last few years he's probably dipped off his scoring run. He's not scored as much as he probably would like to, albeit that he is sitting more defensively, especially since Brown left. But if we're going to be this more fluid, where especially with the likes of Engels and even McCowan to a degree coming in, if it's going to allow everybody to be a bit more fluid with going forward, it's not like we've got 2 60s and a 10 or an 8 and a 10. Where everybody's a 6, an 8 and a 10. And they all just seem to be able to now just rotate amongst themselves and make those little kind of moments happen, which is lovely.
Guys, see as well, can I just make a wee point? And it's very telling. After the game, when we were coming out the stadium, so me and my daughter stayed right to the end, and we're walking out, and normally after you beat Rangers, they're all singing and everything. There wasn't. And to me, I think it's because it's a realisation we are so much better than them now. And if anybody is watching, if they were at the game, did they feel the same about it? It was weird walking towards Belgrove Station, and it really was weird. And normally it's just everybody's singing, going along, and nothing. And is it because we are so far ahead of them now, and in our own heads?
I think I'm not saying obviously but certainly going into the game, I'm usually one of these guys that'll be a wee bit worried, a wee bit concerned. A lot of times, not having any reason to be. But yesterday, I was supremely confident. And it was, you always enjoy these games, but I kind of understand that train of thought, Jed, where you're coming from. It does. I mean, I maybe had a wee bit myself with it, actually realising until you brought it up there.
I mean, I don't want us to get complacent. I don't think the players are getting complacent, but I don't want the fans getting complacent either, because this is what you live for. People of my age who grew up watching Rangers basically doing 9 in a row, had all the money in the world when we were owned by the Kellys and the Whites. We had Lou McCarry as a manager. We had players, Wayne Biggins and stuff like that. It was absolutely horrendous. Horrendous. Mm-hmm. So I never forget the times. We should be enjoying these times. Getting the treble. I mean, the very first treble I ever seen was under Martin O'Neill. And then many ones since then. So loads,
Quite a lot.
I still don't take it for granted. I don't.
No.
Because I just want us to go on and set these records that is going to be very, very difficult to match. That is what I want us to do. I want us to pull away, not just winning the leagues and that, I want to get the trebles and that again. Because they are so bloody difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it, guys. We never done a treble when when the new Rangers were not in the league or not in the Premiership. No. We never won a treble. When they came back, we did.
Surely about 6, I think, since they came back.
I know. So it's not easy to do.
No.
So I want them. That's what I want. I want us to do another couple of trebles.
I
know. I mean, the 90s was, honest to God.
I grew up with, that was my early football memories, is got to the football, but I mean, I was just a young lad. I was just buzzing to be got to football with my dad. Didn't realise that I could really take it in how bad it actually was. The 90s, if truth be told, I was 10-year-old, 12-year-old.
Trust me, guys, it was horrendous.
I mean, the games that my dad told me, Jed, I can't remember many times Celtic won. How I ever got hooked at, I didn't actually know, because we weren't winning many games that he took me to. But it was just good to be got to football at the end of the day. But
sorry, I digressed in that, but I'm just
no. You've always got to digress.
We should be enjoying where we are now.
Yes, no, I totally agree.
Long may it continue. And see people saying we need a strong Rangers and that. Yeah, we maybe do, but as long
That's
as
true.
as long
This
as
isn't
we're
a cycle anymore. This is not a cycle anymore. I
well,
don't think it is. But I obviously we seen the game out. Anthony Schmeichel had a save to make. It was really a good save for my cousin to keep up. That's him still take the Hibs game out of the way. He's not conceded a goal in the league anyway so far. And but just kind of want to touch on players. I know you spoke earlier about him, but Bernardo, he's had big moments in these fixtures. He obviously had the New Year goal last season. He's had the assist for Ida at the 3-3 game at Ibrox. He had that shot, the driving running shot. In the cup final, he obviously played the majority of the Champions League games last season. So there was something there in Brendan Rodgers. I'll admit, I do believe I always believed there must be a player there. I mean, James will probably go mental when I say this line now, but he was obviously he's under 21 captain for Portugal for a reason. There must be something there. I'm not going to profess to know they're under 21 set up, but Portugal generally usually got very decent players. But for me yesterday, that is not just it's the best game I've seen him play. He's on the border of getting booked all the time, I think, but he just did not get any of their players a minute's peace.
I'm going to give honors to James here a little bit. Portugal and many national teams have under 21 captains who happen to be 22, 23 purely because they're the most oldest and experienced ones in the side. So it's a nice thing to look at, but there is probably reasons. And I do remember James did post a link to a former under 21 captain for Portugal, and we all went, "Who the fuck is that guy?" I think he's now playing the second division German football, some nonsense. So it's nice to look at it when you've got a good player, a talented player, and kind of get excited about it. But it's not something that
22. So he was 21 when he joined. He was the under 21 captain at 21.
Is he still?
No, he's 22 now.
But let's take that aside. Let's take it aside of the good community. I do. He was fantastic yesterday, and as you said there, Franny, there's plenty of games, especially the big ones against them. He's came up with the goods at times, and I think it's a cracking bit of business that the club done, and I don't give them credit much during the summer and the transfer window because I think they're a bunch of useless penny pinching bunch of bastards. But getting that deal reportedly from 6.5 million down to 3.5 million, it took too long. But it's a fantastic piece of business because 3.5 million for Bernardo, and we've gone for the next 5 years now as well. Is a 5-year contract? That's absolutely sensational business. There'll be a massive sell-on clause that'll go back to Benfica when we sell them again for 25-30 million. But that is what that is.
Anthony, I don't
his problem now.
Sorry, I don't know if you put this in the chat or it was another chat I've seen. You're talking about transfer figures, and our starting 11 yesterday, there was only one player that cost more than Diamante or something that plays for them? Diamante. Carter Vickers was the only player that cost more than him.
Was Kyogo not about 5 million? But
I think Kyogo's 4.5. But even so,
I don't
even so, it's a mad start.
You know,
it's one or two players. But I'm sure Dessers cost about 4.5 million, did they know? To 5 million.
I just want to know where to keep getting the money for. Was that 3.5 million for that Berani as well, who there's a conversation to be asked why he's not been able to be registered yet. That sounds like they've missed a deadline there. But I'm sure somebody will fudge the paperwork to make sure that goes through. The back to Bernardo though, he's had some big games. Obviously, his run of games at Christmas time last year to the Derby game. Then he's popped up a couple of times in looking at the cup final, the run and the goal for Ida yesterday. Boards can't describe how good he was. He was all over the place, doing the work that needed to be done. But we've just signed an £11 million Belgian 20-year-old wonder kid, if you can call it, sort of thing, in Arnie Engels. He's not going to be sitting on the bench. He's looking to start, and you're not dropping McGregor. You're not wanting to drop Hatate if you can help it. So Bernardo.
You ain't dropping Bernardo in that performance.
But no, see, that's the thing. That's what you want to see. It's Bernardo's position to lose, because I think that's the first one that you're looking at for Arnie Engels to take. But Arnie Engels needs to earn it, or Bernardo needs to lose it. And as much as we just paid 11 million for Engels, I'm all right with him sitting on the bench if Bernardo's going to put in performances like yesterday every week. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's all about. I always say it's getting the competition in for the
position.
Competition just breeds the type of performances. If you've obviously got to have the heart for it, and I think Bernardo showed that yesterday, Jed, and I'm with Anthony there. It's for Bernardo to lose that position, but I don't know. I guess just the feeling at the ground, and maybe some of the fans they were saying the same about Bernardo. If he's concerned about his position, he's certainly rising to the challenge based on that performance yesterday.
Yeah, he done everything he was asked to do yesterday. You know, it was just tremendous. It was better than what I expected him. And Hatate, I'll be honest, I did think Hatate was probably our weakest player in the midfield yesterday. I mean, he still created, he still worked his socks off. But, if anybody is going to get dropped on yesterday's performance, it would be Hatate for me in the midfield. Not Bernardo, not McGregor.
Nah, Bernardo was brilliant for me. We'll talk about another couple of players. Obviously, we've talked about Kuhn and things like that, Kyogo, but I want to kind of go back towards the defence more. I'm more kind of focusing on the guys that are positions are up for. I say up for debate. It's where we brought in. We obviously brought in your man Trusty and Alex Vale, however you say it. But Greg Taylor for me, Anthony's had a great start to the season, and again turned up in this fixture. He had another really, really good game in this fixture. He has an assist as well. Liam Scales, another one. A lot of us have said that we feel last season he's reached his level. I still subscribe to that. I think you don't need to. I feel like you've got to kind of caveat it every time you're having a pop at Liam Scales, but it does give me the fear sometimes. But again, yesterday, and if I'm going to be consistent here, if he's got to turn in performances like that, then our new $6 million guy and the guy for Barcelona, they're going to have to just sit on the bench until they get their opportunity.
Yeah. Scales, I can't remember who I was trying to scroll there. Somebody asked us to talk about Scales and explain why.
It's boy Sean O'Mac, I think his name is. Sean O'Mac.
What's he done wrong was basically the question, apart from coming through the League of Ireland. Not a lot. He's not done a lot wrong, but that's not always good enough for going up the level, or else we'd have, you'd end up having a team full of Liam Scales and Killian Sheridans and whatnot. And I don't mean that. I know I just listed two Irish players. I don't mean that to shit on the Irish players in the Irish League, because there's some absolute quality things to be found. But it's blatantly obvious to see that Carter Vickers is the quality that we should be aiming to have across the board of the back line. And Liam Scales isn't all the Carter Vickers quality. So we need better to go up the level in Europe. Domestically, Liam Scales is absolutely fine. He is prone a little bit to dithering on the ball. He is prone a little bit to losing concentration when the ball comes over the top of him. He is prone a little bit to pulling the jersey if he knows he's getting beat for pace or he's getting turned. And that's most players who play in that position. So it's not a massive slight on him. But again, we do need better. But based off of yesterday's performances, Greg Taylor, Liam Scales, and last season as well, because he got all the credit he deserved last season in the I think he was absolutely outstanding for what he's asked to do. But he definitely showed why he was weak at times. But he deserves to keep his place to a degree. Is Trusty the level of quality that we need? I personally don't know. I've never seen him play. I'm not going to lie and pretend I have. But see if he comes in, was he Birmingham's man of the season 2 years ago. Not so great at Sheffield last year, but they got relegated and all that. So, he was scouted and signed by Arsenal only 2 years ago as well, or 3 years ago. So there must be something to him. I'm happy and want to see him come in and see if Trusty comes in the next game to give Scales a rest, or comes on at half time or 60 minutes gone, he comes on and Trusty looks better than Scales, and then Trusty starts.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as what it is. Scales just isn't the level, and we need better, so we need to find better, and we need to hope or think that Trusty is. Same goes with Taylor. However, with Taylor, I think he's a much more competence, bad word, but accomplished. He's a much more accomplished player than what Liam Scales is, and his position is probably more assured, especially considering the player that's came in as a loanee. So we're not going to surely bomb Taylor out completely, but what bringing in Alex Valle does is gives a competition and tries to put the fire up him, and possibly gives us an option to look at signing him permanently later on if we can. But for those two positions, it's not so much the same as Bernardo, where it's now Bernardo's ship to lose to Engels. I think it's definitely on the two guys coming in to prove that they deserve to take that. But I think that's definitely our weak point as a squad, is left centre back, left back, that kind of general area, for numerous different reasons. But both of them are very, very good players when they have to be, and I don't want to slight on them, but we need to improve it to some degree. So it's on the players who have came in to win those positions. Whereas for Bernardo now, because how that position is different, and it's not a complete weak point, Bernardo's proven that he deserves that in a different way, if that makes some sense.
I know, I get what you're saying, and I'll kind of come to yourself, Jed, to discuss the two players in question. Then I understand what Anthony's saying, and I think they're two positions that are kind of more in threat than, certainly Scales anyway, I think is probably the most one at threat. Obviously Bernardo is clearly a player that Brendan Rodgers wanted, but you can also argue that Engels is clearly a player he also wanted as well. So they two will be fighting for the jersey, where I think Taylor, it's one of them. How much did Brendan Rodgers really want this boy for Barcelona, or is it just one of them couldn't get the guy he wanted? Obviously, purely speculating with me saying that. I have no idea. I think it's sort of been well documented now since his injury, but it seemed that we were well in the race to get Kieran Tierney back, and obviously that's not happening. Maybe Rodgers just went, well, I need somebody in there, because I'm not bringing Bernabei back, but I need somebody in there. Maybe they've just thought, well, we can get the boy for Barcelona for a season. Whereas Scales, he's clearly looked at that and said, and went out and got his guy. I feel like I would say that's a Rodgers signing, that you're going sign a guy for the English League for about $6 million, and I think Scales might, as much as I want to improve him, I think he might be unlucky in the sense that Trusty's a Rodgers signing, and Rodgers will have to play him, if that makes sense, to try and back himself, if you like.
Well, Franny, this time last week, I mean, I was not a happy bunny, because as everybody knew, we needed cover at left back and the left side of mid defence, and Scales and Taylor. I think what's going to happen, I don't know if anybody's seen the pictures of CTV leaving Ree's foot in a boot. So we might be forced into a new partnership against Hearts in a couple of weeks. We'll just need to wait and see. I don't know if Trusty's going to be good. I do not know if the young boy for Barcelona is going to be good. But we have the cover now. I hope until we see them playing, we're just going to have to wait and see, because I've always said, where you pay £1 million for a player or £10 million for a player, doesn't mean that they're going to make it. Doesn't mean they're going to be great. $6 million is a lot of money for us. We'll just need to wait and see. But in Scales' defence, yesterday, he had a couple of weird 2 or 3 passes, went a wee bit astray. But apart from that, I thought he was absolutely solid. So he was.
No,
so,
totally agree.
I've always said, credit, I've slated these guys at times, but I'll give him credit where it's due, and I thought he was outstanding.
No, he wasn't. Obviously, Brown Warriors coming on. I've been hearing we chat with him on the side here, but I like Scales has been brilliant last season. He did play brilliant against Larsson, played brilliant yesterday, but the majority of the fan base are saying they're looking for an upgrade. And Trusty, we don't know if that guy, he could come in and be rotten and Scales comes back in. You just
But
don't
Fran,
know.
you've
with
got
these
to
people at the end of
mind,
the day.
every team for years and years, there's always a scapegoat player.
Aye.
Back in the 80s, it was Peter Grant, always seemed to get it. And I think it's Scales that gets it from the vast majority of Celtic.
I'll probably admit it myself. Ross will tell you, Lee Griffiths, it's a name. For me, sometimes it's a name, it's not the fancy name.
Let me pose a question, a hypothetical, and I'll mangle it up a little bit to try and reiterate my point a little bit tougher. Would everybody be happy in the wider support if we didn't sign another centre-back and we went into this campaign and European football especially, we just leaned Scales, Lagerbielke, say we kept Lagerbielke and Carter because at one point last season, Lagerbielke and Scales played a run of games, didn't concede goals, and they looked absolutely solid. So would we all be happy going into the European campaign with Scales and Lagerbielke, or would we all be looking for an upgrade of Scales and Carter? Because naturally you want better. Naturally we know last season's team was not good enough for Europe. We need better. Unfortunately, it's easy to see the weakest part of it is the left side of defence. It just is what it is. It doesn't mean that other players can't be upgraded on. Definitely could do better in midfield. Hence, we've got Engels to try and keep the quality up with Riley going. Hence, we've got Adam Ida as a different option for up front. Hence, we've got Coonan on the right wing to give us more width option because clearly Tilio and Yang were not good enough. And hence, we bring in, Valle at left back because Taylor needs that competition. It's just a natural progression of teams. If you want to be better, you need to find somebody needs to come in to replace the weakest points. You strengthen your weakest points. Then we get to the end of the season and say, right, we've got that sorted. What's the next weakest point? Sort that one. Move forward.
No, I totally agree. And I think that's a great point. And folk have kind of backed that up. And it was interesting, obviously, Brown Warrior, who has been beating the Scales drumming, he's well entitled to do it. But when you pose that question, was you've been happy with not bringing Trusty in or another possessing that position, everybody said no. So I think that tells its own story, and it kind of answers that question about wanting an upgrade as such in defence. And we'll just we'll move on to, it's been, I don't know if anybody's got Sky and seen Chris Boyd's absolute meltdown after it. The meltdown on it, Jed, has been absolutely frightening. And I think it is, like we touched on earlier, that it's the realisation that the gap is it's sinking and how big this gap is. And then, at one point, Chris Boyd even said he's not the most intelligent when he gets talking at the best of times. But he actually at one point said that Clermont, something along the lines of what his biggest worry if he was Celtic right now, he said he was like talking about how far they're away, but he's like, if my biggest worry would be as if Clermont's got control over Rangers, more control than what Rodgers has. And Chris Sutton was like, "Oh, I think I'll give you a cuddle in the car park. You've lost it. You've lost it." And it's just been on an absolute mad meltdown. He went in a mad meltdown and just was like, "Aye, Celtic. Just look at Celtic. Look at the togetherness." And it's like, "Wow, you've just flipped me. You've lost it."
If you look at that, when I watched it, if you look at Stan Petrov and McFadden in the studio, basically thinking, he's digging a hole here. He's going down a hole. He's going deeper and deeper. And they were laughing in Chris Sutton's face. Even Neil McCann couldn't believe some of the things he was coming out. But guys, on that same thing, I know, Franny, I spoke to you briefly before we come on live. Graham Souness on TalkSport today. You mentioned about the Liverpool thing. I don't know if anybody else heard it. The more galling one was, it was actually quite embarrassing for Souness. A Celtic fan from, he says, Manchester, turned out the boy was from Blackpool. why are you supporting Celtic anyway? That was this, because he stays in England, and the boy came right back to me. Both teams are worldwide supported. You should know better than that. Well, Mr. Souness, I'll put it back to you. You're born in Edinburgh, brought up in Edinburgh. Why are you not supporting Hearts or Ribs? You're a Rangers fan. You can support any team around the world. Doesn't mean you need to be born in that city or brought up in that city. He's rattled. Souness is absolutely rattled. And he couldn't take it today. Couldn't take it today. So if anybody gets a chance, listen to him. He makes a pure RC sale.
So he did, and I don't know if he had it, but he was bigging up Liverpool's performance, how dominant, how far they're away from Man United. And this was the start of the show, and I don't think they started talking about Celtic and Rangers till about an hour and a half into the show. And obviously he's totally forgot what he's been saying. And then he goes on to say the gap's not that big, it's not that far away. He starts talking about stats, and Simon Jordan just goes, "But you just said Liverpool are miles away." Oh, but that's
stats were rough.
Stats are totally, like Simon Jordan rhymed off the stats for the Man United game. You said Man United are miles away. Liverpool are miles away.
I happened to be in the car. We're on the way to Alwa. To do a bit of shopping. I caught bits of it, and the parts that I was catching wasn't much to do with Celtic and Rangers. Actually, it was Souness banging on about VAR and incompetency with referees and stuff. And again, Simon Jordan tried to get him to answer the question that if Souness was trying to say that refs are incompetent, but managers can't be incompetent, and Jordan does the whole if you do make a mistake at the game, the referee's incompetent. Yeah. So if the manager makes a bad substitution and that substitution leads to losing the game, the manager's incompetent. And he's like, no, that's not what I mean. They're not comparable. He was flustered throughout. That's the bits that I got, but he's flustered throughout. And I've heard of that. There's some good points to listen to, much like Bhoys meltdown last night. I'll need to get back onto it, Jay, to actually get a proper listen, because
honestly,
by all accounts, yeah.
And then even a Rangers fan came on and blew Souness away. Couldn't, basically saying there's no much that in there. What game are you watching? We are miles. He says the start was there 3 goals. We've got none.
Aye. It's
honestly,
just mad.
Guys, if you've got a chance.
Oh no, I was listening, and it's just that it's mad how ex-Rangers players never really hear pop. I mean, Chris Boyd did yesterday. He went all in, but he lost the plot. But most of their ex-players do not hear go, and it's almost like they're not allowed to, and they'll be part of the establishment if they do. Whereas you get guys like, I know Chris Commons is not well thought of within the Celtic support now. Even Chris Sutton was having a go at Celtic, but he was always fair and stuff. He was at Celtic when they pretty much won a lot, and there was a lot of big characters there. So he was obviously only judging on that, but he's obviously came full circle now again. But it's just the meltdown, the gap for me is Jed. It's massive, and I think that's the harsh reality for some of them. They just can't admit it.
Yeah, but I do like I've seen today in certain social media things. I think a lot of fans are now beginning to realise, and it's hurting them. It's hurting them. I actually think they're in a worse position than what we were in the 90s, trying to catch them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the financial gap is more in their favour now than it was in Rangers' favour back in the 90s in the comparable. It's just we are so far ahead financially now.
So
Souness said they're not far away, just needs 50 million.
But
and they'll get halfway to our banked balance, let alone what we keep
that will pay off the soft loans. So where's the money going to get invested?
I know. It's mad. It was just the way they're not that far away. It needs about 50 million.
They're about 3 mile for the park. The park's about 3 mile apart. That's the distance.
I thought it's a subject that he said earlier on. We didn't want to touch on it too much tonight. Make tonight about the game yesterday, but this is kind of naturally rolls into it to a degree. But see the gap overall. The gap is as big as we want it to be. At the end of the day, it's as big as we want financially, as you said, Jed. We're not even in the same fucking ball game here anymore. It's unbelievable. We spent money that doesn't even eclipse the money that we brought in transfer fees.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, the money that is sitting in the bank, which is about to be over 100 million once the figures come out, let alone the extra money we're banking from the Champions League this year, we are probably going to be sitting on around about 140 million pound in the bank this time next year, like next September, when those account figures come through. It will be something ridiculous. The gap is as big as we want it to be. The fact that they got so close to us, or they perceived to be so close to us last season, wasn't through them closing the gap. That's through our own.
We allowed it to happen.
We allowed it to happen by sitting back for 2 years. That squad did not get improved upon, Celtic-wise, did not get improved upon since Ange Postecoglou's first season, when he brought in the 3 guys before the window opened in January. He brought 3 guys in. Was it Maeda, Hatate, and I can't remember who the third one was. Off the top of my head. When they came in at the end of December, before the window opened in January, that was the last time we improved the squad, in my opinion. And we went through the next year and a half, 2 years, to this window now, basically bloating the squad with deadwood and fringe players and nonsense. And we went arguably backwards / stood still, in my opinion. What we did over the summer there is not near enough good enough for me, but what we did do was actually quite impressive. Clearing out so much of the deadwood is quite an achievement, to be in the position where I think we can name 2 to 4 players that would be considered fringe. I wouldn't call them deadwood, just fringe. And Stephen Welsh, Thiago Holm, absolutely fringe players. And then on the books still, according to the official website for our first team players, is Shaw and Montgomery. And I wouldn't say they're deadwood, they're just not at the races as such. They're fringe players that haven't been given their chance, sort of idea, as opposed to deadwood that would have been McCarthy. We've absolutely cleared out, which is an unbelievable thing that we've done. I've never seen this clean as a squad for quite a long time. I still think there's room to improve on it, and I think that will come. And if we keep improving our squad now going forward for the next 2-3 windows, that gap, Jed, it's a chasm. It's the Grand Canyon of gaps. That there's no way they can bridge it. They just can't. Financially, they can't bridge that.
We will, like I said earlier, we will only allow the gap to close if we get complacent and we don't strengthen. Joseph had a good point you put up there from it was Joseph Agnew. We need to keep improving the team. Need Champions League game. We need to. This is it for the fans. Listen, guys, we know we're not going to win the Champions League, but we want to get a bit of respect back into our club by playing decent football and amassing more points in the league, and hopefully qualify to the next stage. It's building that confidence. We want to be there and be there in merit for the Champions League.
No, totally sorry. It was just something similar, Jed, just to that comment. I think that's where we need to look. Certainly, where for myself anyway, I'm not want to talk for everybody, but where I see Celtic now is just not the league. If you try and improve in Europe, the league will take care of itself at the end of the day. And I think it is trying to get in that top 24 of the Champions League to get you the extra 2 fixtures. What the 2 fixtures turn out to be I think the way it works, you'll play one of the top 8 teams, so the likelihood is you'll get knocked out unless you're really, really lucky. But maybe moving forward, you maybe try and invest. Obviously, players will leave. Naturally, if you're doing well, it's a model. People will come in who can offer better money and offer the silly transfer fees. But if we can gradually keep improving in Europe and constantly competing in the Champions League, like you said, Jed, we're not saying win it. We're miles away from one that's never got it, but just
if we do well in Europe, it's a chance to get better sponsorship deals. It's more exposure for the companies that's going to have their logo in the front of our jerseys, so we can go and try and get more money that way. That's just one thing. So you need to speculate to accumulate.
No, totally.
We need to be thinking down the line. We need to be not just the next transfer window. Where are we going to be in 2 years' time? Where are we going to be in 3 years' time? Do we build above the main stand? How much revenue will that come in? How much is that going to cost? It's things like that we need to look at. We need to be ready for a potential. In 5 years' time, the Champions League could get changed again. So, we need to be part of that. We need to be part of that. So we have to be trying to get as we all say, the better quality players in, and enhance our club as a European name again.
So I believe the prize funds for this year's went up a bit for us because of the the money they will get is going up a bit because obviously there's 2 extra games. The Champions League package, I think it was announced at £186 for the package.
£46 a game.
As opposed to what was it, £150 for the 3 games that used to be before. So there's a wee bit more money comes in that way. But having a very, very quick look just now on the side, somebody worked it out at UEFA, I think it was, and said you needed 7.6 points
to qualify.
You kind of the marketing to qualify for the knockout round, the playoff round. So you're in that kind of the middle 24 section of the league. So if you get, let's say we'll get 3 wins, the 3 home games, the perceived easy ones. So we'll get 9 points. We'll get through to the knockout round. It's 2 million. It's 2.1 million euros. I'm just going to call it 2 million for easy maths. It's 2 million per win. That's 6 million. It's $1 million for being in the knockout phase, in the playoff phase. That's 7 million. It's then if you reach the round of 16, which you obviously will be looking to do, another 11 million on top of that. That's 18 million. Above and beyond the money that we're saying we're going to bank 40 million or whatever it is through sponsorship, merchandise, TV deals, whatever. Just the prize money, the physical prize money for making a win and getting to the last 16 is going to be another 18 million quid to us. See if you invest that 18 million. Say we sell, I don't know, who would we sell next year? Say we sell Hatate for 15 million next year. For Thomas' sake, we get that 18 million as well there. There you go. There's another 33 million. Just spend that again next year on another 5 or 6 players to complement what we've got this year. And see the team come the following season. You're going again in the Champions League and you're making that last 16 and you're making that money again without ever touching that reserve that we keep talking about, which by that point in a hypothetical 2 years' time is probably sitting about 160, 170 million at the bank. And at that point, you can, I think it was Red put in the chat, you could go and upgrade the South Stand at a cost of 120 million and still have 40 million in the bank. You could then still push the boat out again and spend another 20 million on top of the other 30 million every season that we could invest in the team. And see about 5 years' time, pure football manager speculation nonsense here. You could actually have a team that we could all be proud of who could arguably consistently get to the last 16 / make semi-final, quarterfinal comes before that. And we would all be proud of that. And see, at that point, you never know what happens. Look at Ajax get to the semi-final. But that's if you invest in the squad. Now, I'm not actually getting carried away. I don't actually sit here thinking in 5 years' time we're going to get to a final or anything like that. Of course not. But just that speculation to accumulate, the ambition to go forward. There is a possibility that, sure, realistically, you're not going to be beating Barcelona and Man City on a regular basis. It's just not going to be the case. But you can do yourself proud. You can be in the knockout stages often enough that people can sit and think,
getting it on
people come to Celtic Park and actually think that's a tough place to go to. Like it was in 2001, 2002. Juventus, Man United didn't want to come to Celtic Park. Now, Club Brugge, Zagreb are probably sitting rubbing their hands and thinking, you know what, that's actually no bad away result going against Celtic. They'll be confident because we're that far down the pecking order in European football. We need to change it.
It's paradises for us. Barrett, let's make it hell for them.
But like
Yeah,
I said,
exactly.
we are not asking the board to go and put us into debt to try and get this through. We're not. And by the way, see, if we did decide that we were going to expand the stadium, we wouldn't even we'd mortgage it.
You would not be able. You
wouldn't. Why? You would borrow somebody else's money and use theirs, and then you've got that.
There's a Brown already put in the chat there. You'd be looking at a scope of about 80,000. So let's just ballpark say 20,000 on top. Somebody do the maths. 20,000 times 186. What's that working out? An extra? I don't know.
It's all at millions.
No, 3 points. Mind. I usually think I'm quite good.
Right, calculator's coming out. Thanks, 20,000.
Somebody will get it out quicker than me.
I know. But stadium does make sense, but equally,
an extra
Jerry know better than us tonight. It's some of the league games. It's no food, So
no, but Franny, I've brought this up numerous times. This is again us dragging our feet by not allowing fans to resell their seats.
Aye, no, totally. I think that's something we should be looking at before we then expand the stadium.
How many games? Every game last year, league games was sold out, but there were empty seats because it's season ticket holders are not.
It's already sold. It's an already sold ticket, so it's accounted for.
Think of it this way, though: if everything rolls into the one good factor, right? So if we invest, like we've just invested 30 million on 6 or 7 players there, and I think for the vast majority, we can see 9 million on Ida, 11 million on Engels. Yes, I have said many times that we pay too much for Ida, and we probably pay too much for Engels, but not by the tune of 8, 9 million too much.
Underpaid for Bernardo.
Yeah, I mean, if we've overpaid back to Engels, it's probably only by 2 or 3 million. He's still an 8 or 9 million pound player. Mm-hmm. We've still pushed the ball out there, and Ida maybe isn't 9 million pound. But my point here, though, is, and I could labour on even more about the fact that transfer fees aren't as crazy in the world as people think they are either. But if we can invest 30 million solid every season for the next 5 years, bringing in 3, 4, 5, 6 players for that money, as we just did this season, think how good that team could be in 2, 3 years, let alone 5 years' time. Now, if we invest that properly and get the players who can perform reasonably well in Europe, the fans are all on board and the fans want to buy the season tickets. This big long waiting list we've got of tens of thousands maxes out that 80,000 seater stadium, no problem. We sell the season tickets, not an issue. Do the fans show up to it? Not all the time, probably not. They'll look a bit sparse. Definitely need to get into the reselling of the tickets. The money goes back into the club or back into the fans and all this or whatever it is it does. Mm-hmm. That's the extra 3.7 million or 3.8 as it was calculated. On top of the extra 18 million just to get through to the last 16, which is an extra 21 million, 22 million, on top of the 30 million that I'm asking us to spend each season. It's in about 3 to 5 years' time. That asking for 30 million could actually be us asking to spend 50 million, and you still wouldn't be touching the money in the bank, which is always been added to by the Champions League. So that money in the bank will always keep increasing. And as you said, you wouldn't pay 120 million straight up from the new stand, you would mortgage it. So you'd always have money in the bank consistently proven, whilst we suddenly are able to spend 30 to 50 million without blinking an eye.
As well. I don't think Celtic could make money off that because it's just selling a ticket twice at the end of the day. Because I think there would need to be
that's badly worded.
To guys like Jed, where it's again maybe not necessarily Jed making money off it, but he gets money off his falls or it's.
I think they get points, isn't it?
It was badly worded, and I tried to correct myself through it by saying money back to the fans there because that money should never go back to the club. The money is. I
don't see how you can. I mean, they'll probably make money off a handling fee when they've not even got the tickets. Guys like Jed that are sitting with a ticket, and it'll be a virtual ticket that gets sent. So, but that sounds like something I could talk about on Wednesday if they hear a podcast. Mm-hmm. But
and it's total. I know it's total Football Manager territory. I know it's pie in the sky stuff, but in my head, the fundamentals of it, I know it doesn't happen quite that easily and quite that extravagant in such a short time. But in my head, there's no reason why we can't go down that trajectory, and maybe it doesn't become as lavish as I've just said it should be. Maybe it's not quite as extravagant, but some degree of better than what we've been used to for the last 10, 12, 15 years.
No, I totally agree. And as I say, I think that's a conversation for another night. And as a podcast, I think we'll kind of wrap up there. Just thanks for everybody in the comments. Just get as much Celtic content as you can over this 2 weeks, because going into an international break is never it's never fun, but it's always good. It's always good going in the back of a derby winning, especially the meltdown. But have you enjoyed it tonight, lads?
I have, and I feel like I'm about to become a Belgium fan, and I wasn't Belgian international football.
Oh, because he got called up, didn't he?
The Engels gets his call up.
Got called up. He'll probably not get a game, but fuck knows. But
No,
we'll just.
Fry, thanks. Like I say, I was begging to go on tonight. So I'll leave you. The rest of the guys can deal with it the next few weeks. I'll be thinking about you.
You're away getting the budgie smugglers on in Tenerife.
Yeah, so I'm looking for. I mean, I'm pretty disappointed there's not a game on, because I love going to the Hoops bar over there and watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a bit disappointed there's not a game on apart from the Scotland game. So I'll probably see one of their games. So, but
we'll see. But you enjoy your holiday anyway, Jed. I'm sure you will. You'll not be in the pissing moon like we are. That's the main thing. But we'll wrap up, lads, and just as I say, thanks again to everybody that's hung about in the comments for your contribution. Just get as much Celtic content as you can this week, because that'll be fun. But we will bid you farewell and good night.